Welcome into Yanks Abroad, and we're going to break down the Gold Cup squad, or at least the predicted Gold Cup squad, as there were some major exclusions, obviously, from that provisional roster, the biggest being Giovanni Reyna, who simply has fallen out of the U.S. men's national team setup for the moment. A big summer ahead for him. Obviously, the likes of Tim Weah, Weston McKennie with Juventus at the Club World Cup, so they are not in the squad. But we need to make a roster out of these 60 players. We need to make a 26-man roster, and we're not going to waste any time on it. We're going to get right into it with this roster. And first up, we've got our goalkeepers, and the obvious answer is Matt Turner. Matt Turner is the number one goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team, although he didn't do much this season, obviously, for Crystal Palace. He did help them in winning the FA Cup, making 4 appearances, 2 clean sheets in the FA Cup, 3 total appearances in the FA Cup. He'll remain our number one. I expect the other 2 goalkeepers to come to be Zach Steffen and Patrick Schulte. Of course, there's a chance Diego Cochin also makes the squad. We've seen Pochettino go with 4 goalkeepers, and I think Cochin, obviously, such a big prospect at Barcelona, only 18 years of age, hasn't really played any senior football, so it would be a bit of a waste of a spot to bring him. Although with the competition we're playing, maybe a friendly, you see Cochin get a rep to, try and tie him down to the U.S. men's national team. We do have friendlies with Switzerland and Turkey on June 7th and June 10th ahead of the Gold Cup. And then, of course, those group stage matches are against Trinidad and Tobago, Saudi Arabia, and Haiti. So not the hardest competition at the beginning of this tournament, and obviously before it, those are some tough matches to kind of get us tuned up. But yes, I would expect Matt Turner to be our number one goalkeeper all the way through next season, through the World Cup as well, unless something crazy happens. But those are the goalkeepers I expect to be selected. Moving on to our defense, we will look at our back 4, of which I expect it to be Sergiño Dest at right back, which is huge for Pochettino. His first time being able to select Sergiño Dest, coming back from that ACL injury in March. Played just 7 matches for PSV, 1 assist, 4 starts, but a major part in PSV's title run. For those of you that don't know, they made up a 9-point difference on Ajax in the final 2 months of the season and won the title on the final day. Coincidentally, when Malik Tillman and Sergiño Dest came back into the side is when they made this huge run, winning their final 7 matches. Then at center back, I'd expect it to be Chris Richards on that right center back. What an incredible season for Chris Richards, really. A part of Crystal Palace's first ever major trophy, kept 5 clean sheets in 6 matches in the FA Cup, 30 appearances overall for Crystal Palace, vaulting them up to, I think they're 12th in the table. Keep in mind, Crystal Palace had a really tough start to the season. Chris Richards was not involved at the beginning of the season, but since Chris Richards got into the side, they have been one of the best teams in England, winning the FA Cup, beating Man City in the final, and they could still finish a little bit higher. They'll be in the Europa League next year. It's all coming up roses for Chris Richards. He's going to be playing European football next year for Crystal Palace. He may be their best center back if Mark Gahey leaves this summer, a leader on that team, captain potentially in the future of Crystal Palace. I wouldn't be shocked to see it. Glasner's a huge fan of him. Really, really great season for Chris Richards. That right center back spot for the U.S. men's national team is nailed down and his for the foreseeable future. At left center back, I'd expect it to be Mark McKenzie. Of course, as you see, I expect Tim Ream to also be called up into the side. But Mark McKenzie and Chris Richards is a center back pairing that we need to see if it's the one for the World Cup, because Tim Ream is not going to be the starting center back at the World Cup. 34 appearances for Toulouse this year for Mark McKenzie, who sit 10th in Ligue 1 at the moment. And then Anthony Robinson, who was the best left back in the Premier League this season, 10 assists in 35 appearances, captaining Fulham to what looks to be a top half of the table finish. They're in 10th right now. Pushed those European spots for a long time, but just, they're going to end up 2 or 3 points off of a potential European spot. So a great season for Anthony Robinson. I expect him to maybe leave Fulham this year, considering they did not make European football, and this would be his best chance to secure a move to a club playing European football. And then the backups. I expect there to be 8 defenders taken in this Gold Cup squad, 1 true backup for each spot. So Joe Scally is a no doubt will make this Gold Cup squad. And I think he'll play a lot of minutes. Dest is still recovering from an ACL injury. Joe Scally and Sergiño Dest probably play an equal amount of minutes in this Gold Cup. I'd prefer to see Sergiño Dest as much as possible, but we will definitely see a lot of Joe Scally. Then Cameron Carter-Vickers. Him and Tim Ream are kind of no-brainers for these 2 backup center back spots. I'd be really shocked if it's not the two of them. I don't think it'll be Miles Robinson or Walker Zimmerman. There's some other names in there who are in this provisional squad who I don't expect to see. And then that left backup spot, I put Austin Trusty there for now because, he played a lot of minutes for Celtic in the Champions League, and they won the Scottish Premiership. This is a player who has tons of, English, Scottish, European football experience. It makes sense to bring him, but there's also Nathan Harriel, who I think could be brought up. I think John Tolkien or Caleb Wiley probably more deserving than Austin Trusty. I'd really, really wanted to get one of John Tolkien or Caleb Wiley into this provisional squad, into this to this Gold Cup roster, but knowing Pochettino, knowing the way he's been selecting it, I don't know if either of them will make it. Obviously, John Tolkien had an unfortunate injury right after making the move over to Germany in this January window. And then Caleb Wiley came on late for Watford. I really liked what I saw from him. But again, I don't expect Pochettino to take either of them. But they are more true left backs who play very similarly to Anthony Robinson, like to get up the pitch. John Tolkien, to me, would be a really good fit for this squad. So as much as I put Austin Trusty in this Gold Cup roster, I wouldn't be shocked to see one of those two others. And the obvious exclusion here that I personally would love to see in the Gold Cup squad, but I don't think will be, is Richie Ledesma. He, although was named in the midfielders for this 60-man provisional squad, Richie Ledesma was excellent for PSV this year. Filled in for Serginho Dest up until when he got back. A huge part of them winning the Eredivisie as well. But he wasn't in the provisional roster for the Nations League. So it makes me think that Pochettino is not a huge fan of Ledesma. Probably a late inclusion due to the fact that Reina, Weah, McKennie all couldn't be a part of this roster. So those are the 8 defenders I have coming in to the Gold Cup. Moving into that double pivot that we likely will see, I got Tyler Adams and Johnny Cardoso as our double pivot, with Tanner Tessman, Aidan Morris, and Gio Busio being the other 3 kind of deeper midfielders, 6'8" hybrid type players who we will likely see selected. Cardoso and Adams are no-brainer starters. I mean, these are 2 of our best players, 2 of our players who played the most in Europe this year, who were crucial for their club, crucial now for our country. Tyler Adams, 30 times for Bournemouth. He did have a small dip in form for Bournemouth, as Bournemouth did as a club in the last couple months of the season, but probably the most crucial player for the U.S. men's national team outside of Pulisic, in my opinion. The way he plays is just massive for the way that Pochettino wants to play, covers so much ground, such a good player off the ball, and those are the types of players that we really are lacking for the most part in the U.S. men's national team. And then Johnny Cardoso. I keep going back and forth between him and Tessman, but the way that Johnny Cardoso played this year for Betis, I don't know that we are in a position to not be starting him in every single minute of action that we need a player. He played 45 times for Betis this season. Unbelievable. 45 times for Betis this season. One of their best players. He's a near guarantee to go to a massive club this summer. Obviously, Tottenham have that first right of refusal to signing him for, I think it's about 30 million euros. I'd expect him to go for more somewhere else, honestly. I really do think he is going to make a move maybe to Atletico Madrid. I could see Barcelona coming in for him. I could see one of the bigger clubs in England coming in for him. I could see him going to the Serie A and doing excellently. He has just had an unbelievable year as a controller. He's a very unique profile. He's a Zubamendi type profile, Jorginho type of profiles. He's somebody who, has been likened to Busquets in the way that he plays in a lot of ways. He has Betis in 6th place, up to a Europa League spot, had them all the way to the semifinals of the Conference League. One of their best players all year, crucial to the way that they play. Johnny Cardoso and Tyler Adams would make a very nice pivot. And stay tuned for the rest of this video because I am going to go into the tactics a little bit of what this 11 will look like after I name my Gold Cup squad. And then, yes, I have Tanner Tessman, Aidan Morris, Gio Busio is kind of the other 3 players. I got 8 midfielders in total that I'm going to be bringing to this Gold Cup. I think Tessman will play a lot of minutes as well. Busio and Morris are more players that I think Pochettino really likes, but probably won't get a ton of minutes. Similar profiles who can play in these roles should they be needed at any point. But Tanner Tessman, probably the one who plays the most alongside these 2 guys in this position. And then up to our number 10 position, Malik Tillman. What an unbelievable season for Malik Tillman. He obviously had that knee injury that saw him miss a couple of months. But according to FOTMOB, he was the highest rated player in the Eredivisie this season. 34 appearances, 16 goals, and 5 assists, including 5 goals and 1 assist in the final 7 matches where PSV went on a 7-match win streak and won the league, as I mentioned, with Serginho Dest. it's just at a certain point where you got to include Malik Tillman in every single starting 11 for the U.S. men's national team. Him to me is like Johnny Cardoso. We don't have a plethora of players who are this important, who fit the way we want to play so well. And again, stay tuned. I'm going to show you exactly how this all fits together because it doesn't look like this in possession. This is just kind of what it looks like on paper if you're going to look at a 4-2-3-1. But Malik Tillman, such a crucial player. Need him in this U.S. men's national team starting 11, especially in the Gold Cup where we are going to dominate possession. And then with him, Diego Luna and Jack McGlynn. I expect both of them to be in the squad. I know McGlynn is a player that Pochettino likes, and Diego Luna, somebody from that March camp who was unbelievable, who is filling in for that Gio Reyna role. It's going to be a Diego Luna summer for sure. I'm more worried that he's going to take Tillman starting role. Obviously has had a massive season so far in the MLS, 7 goals in 13 matches in the MLS. Another excellent player. And then moving on to our wingers, Christian Pulisic, no-brainer. Had his best season of his career for AC Milan, 17 goals and 12 assists in all competitions. He will be the starting left winger. There's not much else to say about it. Most important player for the U.S. men's national team. And then on the right wing, we don't have Tim Weah, Yunus Musa. Although we didn't have his best season for AC Milan, absolutely loved by Pochettino, especially if Sergiño Dest is going to be at right back. I really do expect to see Yunus Musa starting at right wing most of the summer here for Mauricio Pochettino. And my backups, I'm bringing Haji Wright, who to me is more of a striker, but I know in the U.S. men's national team setup, he's really been seen as a left winger. Such a good player for Coventry. So unfortunate for them that they will not be in the Premier League next season. Really had another great year where they just came up a little bit short. Frank Lampard took over and did really well for them. And then Griffin Yao. It's a player who, if you have been a fan of this channel, know I talk about a lot. I really like the way that he plays. Such an attacking winger. Someone who really likes to get isolated out there and go in 1v1s. A great transitional threat. Really good complement to the way Yunus Musa plays in case you're trying to play a different way with a more attacking right winger. 8 goals and 3 assists since returning from injury for Westerlo is going to get them up into a European spot for next year. So big fan of Griffin Yao. Hopefully he'll actually leave Westerlo this summer because I think he's an exciting young player. And then on to our striker position. Keep in mind, Ricardo Pepi is out injured. So Folarin Balogun, although he had a very injury-riddled season, actually has a bit of an ankle injury right now. Just such an unlucky year for him. Had scored in 3 consecutive games in December, getting back into form, then had that terrible shoulder injury, as I mentioned, now has an ankle ligament issue, but still, when fit, U.S. men's national team's starting number 9, no doubt about that. Links today that he may move to Lens on loan this season. This coming summer for next season, staying in Ligue 1, as Mika Bierith has really taken over that striker role for Monaco. And then the backups to him. Patrick Adjumeng, who I think will definitely get called into the squad. And I'm going with Damian Downs. I know a lot of people will say Josh Sargent's going to get into the squad, but I think we've proven that Josh Sargent is not a fit for the U.S. men's national team. He had his opportunity in March. He was terrible. He just is not of the level that we need. And Damian Downs is a dual national who we need to get committed to the U.S. men's national team. 10 goals and 5 assists in the Bundesliga 2 for Cologne this year. 11 goals, 6 assists, all competitions. A 20-year-old center forward who is an all-world potential center forward. So athletic, really good at stretching the lines, really good with his back to goal, can play as a false 9, can play in the channels, can play as a transitional player. A really exciting, talented young player who I'd love to get into this U.S. men's national team setup as soon as possible. Really fits in well with Balogun and Pepi for the next World Cup, those 3 strikers being taken all together. So Damian Downs, I really hope, is selected ahead of Josh Sargent. I would even select him over Patrick Adjumeng. I really, really want to see Damian Downs with the U.S. men's national team this summer. Just such an exciting player. So those are the 26 players I expected to be selected for the U.S. men's national team. And now let's see how it looks in terms of formation. So we obviously have this setup. This is what a 4-2-3-1 looks like, right? But it's a matter of what it looks like in possession. And we've talked about it so much during March. With Sergiño Dest coming back, with the change of Cardoso and Adams instead of Tessman and Adams, it does change the way it looks a little bit. Obviously, we've got our striker up here. When we're in possession, I do expect it to look a little bit more like this. You're going to have Musa, Tillman, and Pulisic kind of as these double 10-8s here in the middle of the park. Anthony Robinson is going to get all the way up here. Then you're going to have Cardoso and Dest kind of in this double pivot where McKenzie, Richards, and Adams are kind of in this back three. So you get a 3-2-4-1 in possession, especially against the likes of Trinidad and Tobago, Saudi Arabia, Haiti. These are teams that we need to be dominating possession against. And listen, I don't think it's perfect. I think you're going to see sometimes where Adams and Dest are in the pivot and Cardoso kind of drops in between the two center backs, and then you get a little bit of something like this, probably more like Adams on the left side, Dest on the right side. I think at times you're going to get Musa dropping in here with Dest on this right side. But the key to me is getting Pulisic and Tillman into these kind of double 10 roles behind your striker. This is where all your creativity is going to come. And listen, sometimes it's not going to be Tillman. Sometimes it's going to be Luna. Sometimes you'll get Pulisic out here, and I think you'll get come on, work for me. I think you'll get Pulisic out here, and I actually think you'll get Luna in this kind of either Adams or Cardoso role in here, and you'll probably get more of this setup where Anthony has a little bit more defensive responsibility. Maybe he drives into space a little bit more where he's a little bit more comfortable instead of just overlapping. And you get, keep in mind, this Adams is really Luna. And so you kind of get the double tens of Luna and Tillman. You could get the double tens of this is Luna, put Pulisic here. You get Anthony up here, drop Adams back into here. There's a lot of different rotations that can happen with this side. This is truly how I expect it to look most of the time, though, because it's where everybody is at their best. You're getting you're getting Dest into this inverted role where he can be so creative. There was so much of that March Nations League where you had both Adams and Tessman receiving here, and neither of them were able to really drive or do anything with the ball. When Dest gets the ball in the half spaces here, he is not going to be worried about having to take a man on one or having to drive into space. He's going to continue to pull up into these spaces where the defensive line, someone's going to have to pull up here, whether it's going to be this player, whether it's going to be this player, and then that allows Tillman to drop in right behind Balogun, Pulisic to receive even closer. Musa can stretch it out here, and you can overload this side when Balogun then will get into 1v1 matchups here in the box. He can also, Balogun, take on two center backs, allowing Tillman to receive a little bit closer. You have Anthony who can then get isolated all the way out here, right? You pull all these guys over here. Cardoso kind of playing more in this single pivot role. And then look, you're going to have the entire defense switched over here. One ball here to Cardoso. Robinson, he can drive, play that low ball into Balogun. It allows for so many more things to happen for this U.S. men's national team when you have Serginho Dest in here. He is such a catalyst. Serginho Dest and Tillman is going to change the way that we can attack in a way that we haven't been able to do under Pochettino so far. That's the key to me, is with Pochettino, he needs a certain amount of profiles, a certain type of player. And those first few matches with Aiden Morris and Gio Busio, that's just not the same as having Serginho Dest and Johnny Cardoso, where Dest knows that Cardoso and Adams have his back. They know that those two players are going to be able to cover the ground that he is going to be leaving behind, allowing him to be a little bit riskier, allowing him to be a little bit more aggressive, which then allows Anthony Robinson to get into this preferred position, which allows Pulisic and Tillman to receive in the central areas. Listen, both Pulisic and Tillman are players who are happy to play out on the left wing, happy to play out on the right wing. They can make things happen from there, but if you watch their most decisive actions, they all come from in between this line here of the field and this line here, what we like to call the half spaces. I don't mean the dead center of the park. I don't think either of them really wants to play as a true number 10, but they want to play in these half spaces here where they can receive, and then either this center back here is going to have to come to them, this right back here is going to have to come to them, and if that happens, boom, you have a ball to Anthony here, or boom, you have a ball to Balogun there. Or if no one picks them up, they're driving all the way into space, getting into the end line, and then you've got Balogun making a near post run. You've got Tillman hanging out here at the top of the box. You've got Musa crashing the back post. It allows for so many different things to happen. It allows for our best players to get into their best positions. Whereas I think there's been so much talk and concern about what the formation looks like. Listen, this is what it looks like in a setup, in out of possession. Yes, you've got this beautiful double pivot of Adams, who's more of a dominator and aggressor, who's going to go in and try and win the ball high up the pitch. But then you've got Cardoso, who is going to sit back. He's going to guard the spaces. We've talked about so many of his particular matches where he knows where to be in the right time. He's never going to be out of position. Yes, he's not going to go win the ball back high up the pitch too often unless he really sees an opportunity, but he's going to protect this back four who, yes, they lack a little bit of defensive responsibility. Dest is not the world's best defender, but Cardoso can kind of cover those spaces. Adams is going to hold Dest's hand in a lot of places. If Robinson gets caught way up the pitch here, Cardoso can get into these areas. That's the beauty of this side. Although it's a very attacking kind of area with Tillman as your number 10, who's not really a midfielder, you've also got Musa, who is happy to get back and defend up this pitch. He's going to help Dest out. It's such a balanced side that there's no doubt that this has to be the starting 11 for the Gold Cup. And then looking at the people that we can bring on. I love the idea of having Downs and Adjumang, both players who can, offer something different. Adjumang's a more bully, physical type of player. Downs is very technical, who can add, some ball security. Haji Wright, a player who has scored so many clutch goals in his career for the club and country. Someone who needs to be a super sub off the bench. Diego Luna, such a good player who's receiving in between the half spaces. If we're having trouble accessing central areas, Diego Luna, that's the player you bring on. We need more attacking. It's a tie game, and we have dominated possession. Griffin Yao, such a good replacement for Yunus Musa. He's not going to have the defensive responsibility, but someone who can go out and get us a goal, who can create a goal from those wings, who's willing to really keep the width of the pitch if we're not keeping the width of the pitch. There's such complementary aspects in this squad. It's perfect. And even Tim Ream for Mark McKenzie. Mark McKenzie, great player, but he has a match here and there where it seems like he's kind of head in the clouds. Tim Ream, seasoned veteran, so good with his distribution. Bring him on when needed, and even if it's a halftime sub when Mark McKenzie's not having his best match. And Joe Scally for Serginho Dest, a great sub if we're up 1-0, 2-0, looking to secure that back four. Serginho Dest comes off, Joe Scally comes on. We can really, flatten out into that 4 a little bit better. We could even go into a 5 if Adams wants to come into this right back role. You bring Tessman on for Tillman and drop him into this double pivot with a kind of front 3 situation. This Gold Cup squad, although we're missing McKennie, although we're missing Tim Weah, this Gold Cup squad really is one of the most complete squads the U.S. men's national team has ever had, in my opinion. And we should be having a walk in the park. I'm more interested to see these friendlies and how we do against Turkey and Switzerland, some really well-controlled teams. I haven't seen the squads that they're going to bring yet, so I'm not sure yet how excited I am. But I really think this is a summer where Pochettino not only he needs to show that he can play the kind of football we want to see, but he needs to dominate the Gold Cup and win it easily so that we feel some confidence over the next year going into the World Cup. We cannot have these shadows of doubt casting over this team as we have for the last 4-6 years. This is the summer to turn this all around, get us some momentum going into the World Cup next year, easily win this Gold Cup. Very exciting, very, 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 very talented squad. Thanks for watching Yanks Abroad. When this squad is officially released, which should be on Thursday, I expect my squad to be within 3 players of what actually will be selected. Of course, Balogun may be too injured to be selected, so we don't know exactly all the injury issues that we're dealing with. But from there, I will do a breakdown of every single player in the squad. I'm going to be doing a short video every single day on every player in the squad, their season, what they'll add to the U.S. men's national team. In between, that's May 22nd when the squad is announced, releasing every day up until that first friendly on June 7th. So some days will be 2 videos, some days will be 1. But make sure you're following on TikTok for those videos. Those are going to be singular profiles on each player. And then on YouTube, we'll be breaking it up by groups. So we'll do a goalie video, a defensive video, a midfield video, and attacking video. Thanks so much for watching Yanks Abroad. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll be hosting live streams for every single U.S. men's national team match this summer. And then obviously post Gold Cup, we'll be breaking it down every single match right after the match with a post-match reaction. And then after the Gold Cup ends, going to look into the summer transfers. As I mentioned, Folarin Balogun looking like he's going to be leaving Monaco. What's Gio Reyna's future look like? Malik Tillman, can PSV really keep a hold of him? Christian Pulisic, although they've sort of agreed to terms, now thinking about not extending at AC Milan. So a very exciting summer for the U.S. men's national team, both as a team and as individuals. Subscribe to the channel, and we will talk to you Thursday when that Gold Cup roster is officially announced.